The countryside was always quiet after dusk, but that night the storm carried a different weight. The rain poured down in heavy sheets, pounding against the windows of Sarah's old farmhouse. She sat near the fireplace, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, listening to the thunder roll across the hills. Sarah had been living alone since her husband's death 2 years ago, a tragedy everyone in the village called an accident. But deep down, she never believed it. The unanswered questions, the missing files from his office, the way he looked at her the night before he died, all haunted her still. A sudden knock startled her. At first, she thought she imagined it. The house was far from the road, and no one ever came here uninvited. But the knock came again, urgent. When she opened the door, she found him. A tall man stood drenched in rain, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, his coat heavy with water. His face was sharp yet handsome, his eyes deep and unreadable. "Sorry to disturb you," he said in a low voice that seemed to vibrate with hidden weight. "My car broke down a few miles back. I saw the light in your window. Could I come in?" Sarah hesitated. Something about him felt dangerous, but something about him also pulled her in. Against her better judgment, she stepped aside. "Of course. Come inside before you freeze." And just like that, the guest entered her life. He introduced himself as Daniel Hayes. His voice was calm, polite, but Sarah noticed how his eyes followed her, every move observant, calculating, like he was memorizing her. As she made tea, she caught him staring at her husband's photograph on the mantel. The way he looked at it made her uneasy. They sat in silence for a while, the firelight flickering between them. Sarah tried to make conversation. "So where were you headed?" Daniel gave a small, almost reluctant smile. "Nowhere important. I travel. I don't stay long in one place." There was mystery in his tone, but also sadness. Something about him seemed broken, and that drew her in even more. The storm grew louder. The electricity flickered, then went out completely, leaving only candlelight. Sarah's heart raced as she realized she was alone, in the dark, with a stranger. And yet, she didn't feel fear alone. She felt something else. The next morning, the rain hadn't stopped. Daniel remained in the house, claiming he was waiting for a mechanic. He helped Sarah fix the leaking roof, carried logs for the fire, and cooked breakfast with her. But the more time she spent with him, the more questions grew. His stories didn't add up. Sometimes he said he was a businessman, other times a writer, and when she asked about his family, he changed the subject. Still, his presence unsettled her in ways she didn't understand. That evening, they shared a bottle of wine. The tension between them was heavy, unspoken. Sarah caught herself staring at his hands, the way his jaw clenched when he thought, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her. She shouldn't feel this way. He was a stranger, a guest. And yet, when his hand brushed hers, she didn't pull away. Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the storm outside vanished. That night, Sarah woke to faint sounds downstairs. She quietly descended the stairs, heart pounding. Daniel was in her study, not asleep, not resting, searching. He was going through her drawers, holding her late husband's files, staring at his old pocket watch. When Sarah stepped in, he froze. Then, slowly, he turned to face her, not guilty, not apologetic, just calm. "You deserve to know the truth," he said softly. Sarah's blood ran cold. "What truth?" Daniel's eyes locked on hers. "Your husband's death wasn't an accident, and I know, because I was there." Sarah's knees trembled. She felt anger, fear, and disbelief all at once. What are you saying?" Daniel stepped closer, his voice raw. "Years ago, I worked for men who wanted your husband silenced. He discovered something powerful people didn't want exposed. I was sent to watch him. That night, I should have stopped it, but I didn't." Tears blurred Sarah's eyes. "So you came here to finish what they started?" Daniel's voice broke. No, I came here because I couldn't stay away from you. Because I needed you to know the truth. Because I'm not sure if I want redemption or you. His confession shook her. Every instinct told her to throw him out. But her heart, aching, lonely, desperate for truth, wanted to believe him. When his hand reached for hers, she didn't move. The days that followed were a storm of emotions. Sarah should have hated him. Instead, she found herself drawn to him more each night. His presence filled the silence her grief had carved. His touch awakened a passion she thought had died with her husband. One night, as the fire burned low, he kissed her. It was slow, conflicted, full of restraint yet desperate. She should have pushed him away. Instead, she melted into him, her body betraying her mind. But love mixed with danger. Every kiss, every touch carried the reminder that he was tied to her husband's death. He was both her comfort and her curse. Their fragile bond shattered when men came for her. Strangers dangerous, armed, broke into the farmhouse. Daniel fought like a man with nothing left to lose, protecting her with a ferocity that terrified her. When it was over, he stood bleeding, his chest heaving, his eyes burning with something between rage and love. "They'll never stop," he whispered. "If you stay with me, you'll never be safe. But if you leave me, I'll lose the only reason I've ever wanted to be good." Sarah's heart broke. She didn't know whether he was her savior or her destroyer. At dawn, Daniel stood by the door, ready to disappear like he had never come. "I was just a guest," he said, his voice heavy. "But you let me in. That's more than I ever deserved." Sarah stepped forward, her tears falling freely. "You came as a stranger, but you've become more than that. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can love you, but I can't let you walk away." For the first time, Daniel's mask cracked. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he'd never let go. Weeks later, the farmhouse was quiet again. But Sarah wasn't alone anymore. Daniel remained in the shadows of her life, sometimes gone, sometimes near, dangerous, haunted, and flawed, yet hers in a way no one else could ever be. He was the man who brought death into her past, but passion into her present. The man she should fear, but the man she chose. Because sometimes, the heart doesn't fall for the safest choice. It falls for the guest who was never meant to stay.